viewers, Happy New Year and a very warm welcome to yet another fascinating edition of the program CAC Weekly, a weekly program that keeps you abreast on the activities and the achievement of the Corporate Affairs Commission. My name is Amina Jibril. Now, coming up on the program, CAC is to commence use of National Identification Number (NIN) as means of identification for all processes. Also, beneficial ownership disclosure arrangement comes on the focus, plus customers to enjoy 3 additional components on the company's registration portal. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
NIN moving forward, and a company cannot be a director. By our law, the director has to be a natural person. And for every Nigerian, as at today, you can have a mobile line, you don't have NIN. You can't have an international passport if you don't have NIN. You can't have driver's license if you don't have NIN. So you have no business incorporating, being a director or shareholder of a company. You don't have NIN. So you must have a NIN, and this will apply to Nigerians and foreigners resident in Nigeria. Because even foreigners resident in Nigeria are required to have NIN. So, but for foreigners resident outside Nigeria, we'll continue to rely on the representation that professionals are making, or why they are incorporating the company directly. They provide these details, and we will take it in good faith, believing that what they have submitted is correct. If it turns out to be false, I have mentioned the provisions of the law that says if you make any false declaration or submit any false information, it attracts a 2-year jail term. I will take this matter very seriously and have test cases with some of us that are professionals and with some of the people that came to register directly. Well, people will take us seriously.
Welcome back to the program. We begin today with identification matters. Now, the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, in a final notice issued to the public on 9th December 2022, which is a follow-up to an earlier notice dated 21st November 2022, says from 1st January 2023, the National Identification Number (NIN) will be requirement to process all applications. Further notice on the use of the National Identification Number as means of identification for all processes. Further to the Commission's public notice dated and published on 21st November 2022 on its website and social media handles. Esteemed customers and the general public are hereby informed that the commencement date for the application of the requirement of National Identification Number (NIN) as the only means of identification accepted for all the processes of the Commission is now 1st January 2023. As from that date, applicants shall be required to type the NIN in the appropriate fields on the online application forms. Signed, Management. This development followed successful integration with the National Identity Management Commission's database. Now, Section 5 of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC Act No. 23 of 2007 stipulates that the Commission shall create, manage, maintain and operate the National Identity Database established under Section 14 of this Act, including the harmonization and integration of existing identification databases in government agencies and integrating them into the National Identity Database. And for the benefit of our esteemed viewers, according to NIMC, the National Identification Number (NIN) is a set of numbers assigned to an individual upon successful enrollment. Now, enrollment consists of the recording of an individual's demographic data and capture of 10 fingerprints, head to shoulder, facial picture, and digital signature, which are all used to cross-check existing data in the National Identity Database to confirm there is no previous entry of the same data. The National Identification Number (NIN) consists of 11 non-intelligible numbers randomly chosen and assigned to an individual at the completion of enrollment into the National Identity Database (NIDB). Once a National Identification Number is assigned to an individual, it can never be reassigned, given or used by another person. That makes it unique in nature. Now, the NIN is used to tie all records about an individual in the database and is also used to establish or verify his or her identity. All citizens and legal residents in Nigeria from age 0 which is at birth and above, are eligible to enroll for their NINs. Esteemed viewers may recall that the Registrar General and CEO of the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, Alhaji Garba Abubakar, had indicated that the Commission was making frantic efforts to ensuring integration with NIMSI to, amongst others, check fraudulent activities. We say kudos to the CAC and congratulations to Nigeria as we now move on to another plus for the Commission, which continues to digitize all its processes. On 21st December 2022, the Commission deployed 3 additional components to the company's registration portal, CRP, to satisfy the yearnings and aspirations of valued customers. Deployment of additional components on the company registration portal, CRP, for filing of surrender, allotment, transfer, and transmission of shares. The Commission wishes to notify its esteemed customers and the general public that additional component has been deployed on the company registration portal, CRP, for the filing of the following notices. 1. Surrender of shares to company as a gift. 2. Allotment of shares. 3. Transfer of shares. And 4. Transmission of shares. The above is in addition to alteration of memorandum and articles of association of a company and amendment of Constitution of Incorporated Trustees, which components had since been deployed and active on the CRP. Signed, Management. In another development, the CAC says late compliance by existing companies with the requirements of issued share capital under the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and the Companies Regulations 2021 shall attract daily default penalty. Late compliance by existing companies with the requirements of issued share capital under the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and the Companies Regulations 2021. Further to the notice of the Commission dated 16th April 2021 on extension of the period for existing companies to comply with the requirements of issued share capital under the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and the Companies Regulations 2021 to 31st December 2022. And in line with the last paragraph of the notice, customers and the general public are hereby reminded that any application filed in compliance with the requirement after the extended date being 31st December 2022 shall attract daily default penalty against the company and each officer of the company for every day during which the shares remained unissued after the extended date and in accordance with Regulations 13 subsection 2 of the company's regulations. Signed, Management. From that, now we move on to another requirement made pursuant to CAMA 2020. Now, Section 119 of CAMA 2020 made the disclosure of the particulars of shareholders with significant control in all companies. And Section 120 further requires a shareholder in a public company and holding either by himself or his nominee or proxy shares in the company, which entitles him to exercise at least 5% of the unrestricted voting rights at any general meeting of the company, is required to disclose such holding by notifying the company within a stipulated time. For more on this requirement, which is aimed at, amongst others, enhancing transparency, prevention of asset shielding, and combating money laundering and terrorism financing, please let us join Mr. Justin Nidia Birawal, the Director, Compliance CAC, in our interview segment. Enjoy watching.
Mr. Nidia Justin Birawal, Director, Compliance, many thanks for joining us on the program again.
Happy New Year too. Thank you for having me.
Happy 2023.
Yes, thank you.
Today we're going to be looking at the PSC, that's Persons with Significant Control, also known as the Beneficial Ownership Register. Talk us through the concept. I know people will not be interested in the history, but I know it's been there since CAMA 1990.
Yes, in a sense.
Okay.
Yes, in a sense. But first of all, like you rightly said, let's talk about the issue of persons with significant control. Significant control. In global discourse, when you say persons with significant control, or in other words, beneficial owners, in global discourse, they can be used interchangeably. And the concept, what it means actually in a simple sense, is that is the real person, natural person, a person with flesh and blood that has control over what we call legal personality or legal arrangement. That, in a simple sense, is what we mean by persons with significant control. So the idea is that because legal persons or legal arrangements are artificial persons, they have to act through natural persons or persons with flesh and blood. So naturally, the society will be interested in knowing those flesh and blood that are behind legal entities or behind legal arrangements.
Are they artificial persons?
Artificial persons, yes.
Okay.
In law, there is what we call artificial persons.
Who are artificial persons?
The companies, the
Okay.
company or any other person or any other institution that has been vested by law with a legal personality is what we call artificial person.
Okay. So help us understand the duties of companies as far as the disclosure of beneficial ownership is concerned.
Well, like we said, when we tried to define the concept of persons with significant control, we did mention what is called legal persons and legal arrangement. So legal persons, the first idea that comes into mind is companies. So apart from companies, there is a recent introduction into a company or corporate law, a concept of what we call limited liability partnership, which is also similar to company. So these two are the examples that clearly come into mind.
That's the LP and the LLP.
The limited liability company and the limited liability partnership.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the limited partnership and the limited liability partnership.
No, the limited liability partnership, but not the limited partnership.
Okay. So the LLP and then the limited liability company.
Yes.
Okay. So they are typical examples of this.
Yeah, they are the ones that are required by law to do what is called beneficial ownership disclosure.
Why are the others not included?
Well, for business name, for instance, it is assumed that because it doesn't have a legal personality, so it's the real person that does the business. So in that case, and there is no issue of requirement for disclosure in that sense, because he's just trading under a name.
Okay.
So you are dealing with a natural person from the conception.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about the big companies?
Well, the big companies are covered under limited liability companies because there are different types.
Okay.
Yes, we
Okay.
have public companies, we have unlimited companies, we have company limited by guarantee, and all those types of companies.
Okay. Still talking about duties, to companies as far as disclosure is concerned. Can you spell them out, the duties of the company?
Yes. Under Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, Section 119 in particular, requires persons with significant control to make disclosures. The disclosures is at two levels. One, the natural person who has met what is called the threshold of disclosure should naturally inform the company. And the company is required to maintain records of such disclosure that has been made to them by persons that have notified them. And such persons under that particular section are required within 7 days of having become aware that they are persons with significant control over legal entity. They are required to notify the company.
Okay.
Then the company, on the other hand, is required to notify the commission within 30 days of receiving such information from such person. So you can see that the disclosure is at two levels, at company level
And at the individual level.
and at the Corporate Affairs Commission level.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So who are required to disclose?
Well, the disclosure obligation is vested on one, person who has 5% ownership of legal entity. That is one. Two, person also who has 5% voting rights in a company are required. Then if a person also can appoint majority of the directors of the company, or he can remove majority of the directors of a company, or in other words, he can exercise what is called ultimate and effective control, maybe under an instrument or under some agreement, then such a person is regarded under the law as a person with significant control, and consequently he will be required to notify the company accordingly. So
with just 5%?
Yeah, if you own 5%
of a company
or in your company.
But is that not too small?
Yeah, in a sense, if it is a small company, but if it is a big company, that 5% requirement.
For instance, I own a 5% in a small company, which is not more than 100,000 naira.
Yeah.
So will I be required to disclose?
You will be required to disclose.
Just 100,000 naira?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So long as that comes within the 5% of the total issued shares of the company.
All right. So let's go to the time frame. What is the time frame for the disclosure?
Well, we've said that for the person that
has the
5% or more, is required to notify the company within 7 days.
Within 7 days?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then for the company itself?
The company is required to notify the commission within 1 month of receiving notice from an individual.
Okay. What is the consequence of failure to disclose? Yes.
The obligation is like other obligations that are placed on companies. First of all, administratively, if you don't file that notice, your company will be classified as inactive. Then after being classified as inactive, other consequences may follow. Like also you are required to disclose within a specified time frame. If you don't do that within the specified time frame, there will naturally be financial penalties that will go with them after the statutory period has elapsed.
Let us break down this penalty. You said there's a financial penalty. So how much will I be required if I belong to the category of those who did not disclose?
Well, the penalty is imposed on the company.
Okay.
It is imposed on the officers.
Oh, okay. So it's a whole long list of punishments.
Yes, and what is interesting is that the penalties are cumulative because they run on a daily basis.
Okay. Okay, because the implementation started in 2021.
Yes.
So since from 2021 till date, if I have not disclosed since 2021, it means my penalty is about 365 days times 2?
Well, the penalty is, like we said, on the company, its officers and directors. And under the PSC regulation, the penalty is 1,000 naira on a daily basis.
1,000 naira?
For each of the persons.
Okay, the directors?
The directors, the officers, and the company.
1,000 naira?
Yes. Okay. But that penalty came into being as a result of PSC regulation, which was issued this year.
Okay.
Yes.
So it means one won't be paying backlog? For
those that would like to file after the commencement of the PSC regulation, they may not incur much penalties.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. But if it is left for a unduly long period of time, then of course the penalty is cumulative on each of the persons we have identified.
Okay, because I know I also fall into that category, like many other people.
Well, if you have your company, then you will be penalized, of course.
Okay, but so my penalty will not read from 2021? It will, because the obligations, I mean, the penalties are just coming up now.
The penalty will start from the day the PSC regulation come into force.
When did they come into force?
We just receive approval for you.
Oh, okay. 2023.
2022, not 2023.
You said we just received approval.
That is 2022, not 2023.
Okay.
And it will start, the implementation will start from 2022.
From the day it was approved?
Yes.
Okay, so the consequences start running from there?
The penalty.
Okay, start running. Okay, so I can easily calculate?
Yes, but that is at one level. There is another penalty that has always been there. Because you would also recall that we said the person that falls within the category of a person with significant control should notify the company within 7 days.
Okay.
And the company should also notify the commission within 7 days.
Oh, okay. That's double wahala.
That one had always been there.
Okay.
And there is a penalty also contained in the company's regulation, which started in 2021.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a kind of waiver?
Well, we don't have authority to waive a penalty for now, because that will require a lot of bureaucratic thing. Because if a penalty has to be approved, minister has to approve, and it has to be gazetted.
Okay.
So the process is a little bit.
Okay. So, and I'm sure you don't want to go into waiver now because you want to make money first.
Not issue of money. We want to raise the obligation.
Okay.
Raise the awareness that there is a need actually for people to file the beneficial disclosure requirement.
Yes. Okay. For those people like me who have failed to, declare, what is the procedure like? Well,
there is a form.
Okay.
There is a form and disclosure.
Where do we get this form? We'll go to the website.
The form is on the website.
Okay.
But what people should know actually is that the commission collects the beneficial ownership at 3 levels. Okay. Level 1 is when you register the company from the beginning. And when CAMA 2020 came into force, January 2021, we re-engineered our process to collect the PAC information from the inception. So all companies that were registered after January 1st, 2021 already have those information disclosed.
Okay, but old companies like ours?
But old companies are required to do so. First of all, if a person notifies them, like we have said, they are supposed to notify us. Then they are also, apart from that, required when they are filing their annual return to make full disclosure of persons with significant control.
Okay.
So for annual returns that have been filed after January 2021, those disclosure requirements must have been met.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for those who have registered from 2021 January, they have no issue?
They don't have issue on persons with significant control.
Okay.
Because the information has been captured.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's come back to the penalties. Since I'm here doing this program, there should be waiver for me now for failure to disclose.
well, like we said, the issue of penalty is a whole lot of.
No, I know, I understand. I understand. Maybe arranging in-house arrangement.
But we have just started implementing the concept.
Okay.
Just maybe 2 years now running.
Okay.
So it will not be too tidy to start talking about issue of waiver.
All right. Mr. Lydia Justin Burrow, thank you very much indeed for your time as always.
Oh, thank you, Harvey.
All right.
And that's a wrap on this week's edition of the program. We do hope you enjoyed watching. But before we go, remember that for your comments and inquiries, you can please take advantage of our social media handles and our helplines. On Twitter, it is at CAC Nigeria 1. On Instagram and Facebook, it is Corporate Affairs Commission. Our email is cservice@cac.gov.ng, while our website is at www.cac.gov.ng. You can also reach us via our helplines on 081-822 99016 or 081-822-98971, 090-874-01598 or 090-874-01599 and 090-874-01600. Join us again next week for yet another interesting edition of the program CAC Weekly. Same time and same station. I am Amina Jibril. Do have a prosperous new year and bye for now.